everybody, CardBandit here today. What I'm going to be going over is the Saturn's Hyperspace playing cards. My honest opinion of them, what I think of the cards, how they look, how they feel, all that fun stuff. Hopefully you'll get some value out of this review. But without further ado, let's get into it and take a look at the cards. Alright, so to start we're actually going to go over the tuck box. This is the back of the tuck box. You have some silver foiling circle designs here, not embossed or anything, but just got a silver foil on those, as well as these two diamonds on either side. You can also see they interpreted the split border design on the back of the tuck box. Not quite the same as the cards, because in here and here would be white, but they left it black just to keep the tuck box classy. On the side here you have just the product information, made in the USA, all that fun stuff. This is the front of the tuck box, straight black, which I really like the classiness of, and they actually have, it almost feels kind of embossed here, this once again circular foil design. It feels a little bit embossed, but not really, just along here it feels like there's a little bit of elevation. On the other side you have Space Jam Saturn playing cards, and they said on the website that Space Jam was how you knew it was a legitimate Hyperspace playing cards deck, because if it said Hyperspace on the sides it was a false seller. Here you have the signature on the bottom of the tuck case, and the top is straight black. The flap remains black, and so do these two folds, but the rest of the tuck box on the inside is just straight white. And there's your tuck box. Now getting into the actual cards themselves, let's sort of take a look at what you get. You get a double backer card with this deck. You also get a blank face card, and then the rest of the cards are the regular 52. So those are the two cards that come with the deck that are extras. Then you've got your two jokers. The jokers each have a different dot and coloring on the ends there, so you've got red and black. And then you've got your ace of spades, sort of like a split ace of spades. Very simple, just you've got the lines going throughout, half red, half black. And then you've got sort of a simplified court card design. You've got the kings, queens, very simplified overall, just you got a lot of colors being filled in here, and you lose a lot of the design, which I don't mind. I kind of like the simplicity of it. And you keep the same sort of red. It's a very vibrant red that you'd find on most cards. And the black is pretty much the same. They kept the court cards and the faces of the cards very much the same. All they did really with the court cards was simplify the coloring of them. The rest of your cards are pretty standard. Like your 8 of clubs, the spades, the hearts, and the diamonds are all very much your standard spot cards. Same with all the aces. Everything else is pretty much the same as like a regular bicycle deck of playing cards. So now let's go into the back design of the playing cards. As you can see, you do have the split border design, which means the borders don't go all the way around. You've also got this gray diamond shape on either side, which will be really neat to see in fans. So essentially I think the long edge actually has more black on it than white. You also see like the two circular Saturn patterns, like the ring patterns that is typical on the backs of any Saturn playing cards. You also have these red highlights on the borders of the cards, and they say that these are speed lines, so like when you're doing things like dribbles, you can see the cards and they make it appear to speed up. I really didn't notice that too much in terms of like actually making the cards seem that like they're going faster, but maybe that's just my personal opinion. Other than that, you do have a two-way back design, so if you fan the cards one way, you'll see that they, sorry, instead of saying a two-way back design, I guess you could say a two-way fan design. So when you fan them this way, you get a sort of continuous black border. The diamonds on the edge of the cards really stick out. Then you've got the red highlights and white straight in the middle. And if you fan it around the other way, you sort of see the diamonds connecting. You've got the continuation of like a black center, then a black ring on the outside. And then the fan, you can sort of see those red highlights and the borders. coming in, and if you, depending on how you fan them, you can also see like a black edge. So you definitely have two different fan designs with the backs of these cards. I also like the simplicity of the back design, just for cardistry purposes. I personally prefer a simple back design when I'm using cards for cardistry, because if you have a more complex design, you don't necessarily add to the moves any, and it's really hard to make out the back, whereas a simplistic design, I think, can add to the cardistry and makes the cardistry easier to follow. And let's get into the handling of the cards. Overall, I actually really enjoy the feel. The cards have a smoother feel than, say, your regular air cushion finish. But the finish on these cards is still really nice. You definitely feel the paperiness of the cards. It's not sort of like a plastic feel or a plastic finish that you might find from other playing cards. And it's also very durable. I was doing the Anacondas outside for the beginning of this video. The cards had dropped because of wind and all that other fun stuff. And even though they took a beating, the cards still handled really nice. They still fan out really well. They still dribble fine, so they can take a really good beating and still keep on going, which is pretty essential for someone who really handles their cards. Other than that, I would say the thickness of the cards is, it's not thicker than a bicycle stock, and it's not as thin as, say, the new Verts deck, which has been like super crushed, or the Cardistry Touch deck. I almost like the feel of these cards better than that. Because I find it easier to dribble off one card at a time. Cards themselves just feel very familiar in my hands. Cards faro nicely, so no trouble faroing the cards at all. Shuffling them, doing anything you need to do with them that you can do with them. In terms of like their handling, you will, however, notice one thing I forgot to mention aesthetically was, because they've taken a beating, you can see some faded coloration on the black of the card. So if you're looking for something that you can beat up and you don't mind too much about the looks, especially if they get beat up, then this deck is really, really good for that. Like I said, they fan nicely, they dribble nicely, and the smooth finish actually helps the cards stay together relatively well whenever you're doing card cuts or card flourishes. And they've got a really nice snap to them. Not as like snappy as other cards I've felt, so a little soft, but all in all I really just enjoy the way the deck handles. But all in all, I think for the purposes of cardistry and what I think they were going for with this design in this deck, I would definitely recommend buying it if you can, while they're still available. Alright, so that was my review of the Hyperspace playing cards. I really hope you found it useful, informative, and got a lot out of it. The cards are really good. Like I said, I'd recommend them. And other than that, thank you for watching the video. Thank you for supporting the channel. And I will catch you in the next one. God bless.